Tonight, Glasgow's flagship hospital is named as a suspect in a corporate homicide investigation. The family of Millie Main, who died after contracting an infection, are calling for health board bosses to stand down.
Anytime I think of Millie, I think of all the pain that day caused.
Also making the headlines, a dramatic day in Downing Street. Suella Braverman is out and former Prime Minister David Cameron is in.
A new stage play that aims to tackle anti-social behaviour is touring Glasgow's primary schools.
And finish strong. Scotland's players are urged to round off Euro qualification with back-to-back wins. I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. The family of a young girl who died after contracting an infection at Glasgow's Queen Elizabeth University Hospital have called on the leaders of the Health Board to be removed.
It's been confirmed that NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde are suspects in a corporate homicide investigation following the death of Millie Main and 3 others. The Health Board says it's cooperating. Ollie Dickinson has more.
I've never been able to celebrate Millie's life like I should be. Anytime I think of Millie, I think of all the pain that day caused. It continues to cause.
The grief of a mother 6 years on from the death of her daughter and still searching for answers. Millie Main was just 10 years old and in remission from leukemia when her Hickman line, which was used to administer drugs, became infected. She was being treated on the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital campus. Today, the Health Board who run it were confirmed as suspects in a corporate homicide investigation.
And I think it's time the Health Board Chief Exec stood aside and gave patients, families, staff, clinicians, someone they can trust to do the right thing by them. I think that's important, very, very important.
But speaking today, the Health Board's chairman declined to step down.
Everyone in Greater Glasgow and Clyde is putting all their energies into improving the services that we provide to the people of Greater Glasgow and Clyde, and we will continue to do that.
Kimberly and Millie's dad, Neil, have been supported by Anas Sawar. He first raised the concerns of a whistleblower in 2016. He too has major concerns over how the Health Board is operating.
Jane Grant and John Brown are not fit for their positions. They should accept responsibility and they should vacate their positions so we can get fresh leadership. And it's not about whether I have confidence in the public inquiry or I have confidence in the outcome of any investigation. To be honest, the real judge of that are Kimberly and Neil.
In 2019, NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde was placed into special measures by Jean Freeman. Today, the current Health Secretary said it would be wrong for him to intervene during an ongoing investigation.
What I can give you an absolute assurance of is that as the public inquiry is taken forward, is that where it identifies that there's clear action that needs to be taken, the public can be assured that that action will be taken, that we as a government will make sure that any recommendations that require to be implemented will be done so, and will be done so as quickly and effectively as possible.
No organisation has ever been prosecuted for corporate homicide in Scotland, but legal experts say this decision is significant.
Now, clearly there doesn't appear to be a final decision on whether there will actually be a trial, but the very fact that they've been given this notice is a significant step, which I would imagine has been taken in conjunction with senior members of the staff at the Crown Office.
Today's confirmation that NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde are suspects is a small step along a long road in the search for answers for Kimberly and others. She still feels, though, that closure is a long way off.
And Ollie is at the hospital tonight. So, Ollie, what happens now?
Well, as I said just there, John, this has been such a long and emotional journey for Kimberly and Neil, and of course the families of others who lost loved ones here at this hospital. On top of that, you've got those who became unwell through infections, through treatment here, who all want answers. That all part now of that wider inquiry. One thing we do know is that these are not going to be quick processes. The search for answers is probably going to be quite a long one. There will be many hurdles still to come, but listening to Millie's family tonight, they're more determined than ever to get those answers and then be able to start celebrating their daughter's life, which they believe was so much more than its tragic end.
Ollie in Glasgow, thank you.
Now to a dramatic day in Downing Street, aimed at shoring up what appears to be a struggling government. Rishi Sunak sacked the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, and brought back the former Prime Minister, David Cameron.
Mr Cameron returns 7 years after he served in Number 10 in a reshuffle triggered by a serious challenge to Mr Sunak's authority. We go now to our Westminster correspondent Paris Goutsianis for more. Paris, fair to say this was unexpected?
That's absolutely right. It was the row over the weekend about the policing of protests that proved to be the last straw. This morning, Rishi Sunak reasserted his authority and sacked his Home Secretary before the day had even really begun. But it's what he did next that was so dramatic, bringing back David Cameron to sit around the cabinet table as Foreign Secretary. It's a twin gamble that risks antagonising the right of the Conservative Party in order to re-energise a flagging government after 13 years in power. Suella Braverman became a standard-bearer of the right, with a series of provocative outbursts that caused disarray in Number 10.
A Home Secretary who describes homelessness as a lifestyle choice.
This morning, to no one's surprise, Rishi Sunak's patience ran out. The real shock came striding up Downing Street this morning. David Cameron is back, returning to the Cabinet as Foreign Secretary and re-entering Parliament as life peer in the House of Lords.
I've decided to join this team because I believe Rishi Sunak is a good Prime Minister doing a difficult job at a hard time. I want to support him. I'm a member of the team and I accept the Cabinet collective responsibility that comes with that.
By bringing back David Cameron, Rishi Sunak is bringing back a proven election winner, a strong communicator and someone who's recognised on the world stage. At a time when his party is trailing in the polls and rocked by fresh scandal thanks to the sacking of Suella Braverman, it's a bold attempt to reset the way the government's seen. But people have long memories, and they'll remember David Cameron as the architect of the austerity programme, and of course, his legacy of Brexit. On the streets of Glasgow, people welcomed Miss Braverman's departure, but were less sure about the man coming out of retirement.
Good. Good. I think her views are unbelievable in this day and age. She should never be in that job in the first place.
Just like, what was it they say, old tread on tires, just can't quite believe it. It's got us into Brexit, which has been a bit of a mess.
To find the last time a former Prime Minister returned to the Cabinet, you have to go back to the 1970s, and Alex Douglas Holmes serving as Ted Heath's Foreign Secretary.
My big concern here is the fact that we now have a Foreign Secretary. Whilst there's a crisis in Gaza, there is war in Europe with Ukraine, there is a whole host of international issues which require the scrutiny of the place behind me of the Foreign Secretary. And we're not going to be able to do that because the Conservatives have chosen a Lord to take on that role.
One thing the return of David Cameron doesn't signal is change. You can't fix the problems Rishi Sunak is facing with personnel changes. You can only fix them with policy changes, and the Tory party can't do that.
Elsewhere in the reshuffle, still no confirmation that Alistair Jack will continue as Scottish Secretary, but sources indicate that he's likely to remain in his job. He wasn't even an MP when David Cameron resigned as Prime Minister in 2016. The new Home Secretary, James Cleverly, made clear there will be no change to the government's priorities.
I'm absolutely committed to stopping the boats, as we promised, but also making sure that everybody in the UK feels safe and secure going about their daily business.
So, a headline-grabbing reshuffle with a dramatic change of personnel, aimed at shifting perceptions rather than policy.
Our political editor, Colin Mackay, has also been watching the reshuffle. And Colin, a surprise move.
Absolutely. David Cameron's back. Suella Braverman is sacked. Now, Rishi Sunak had to get rid of her. He had to change his Home Secretary because she was damaging his government, damaging his own reputation as Prime Minister. Her clash with the police last week was the most damaging thing yet. It may have gone down well with the right wing of her party, but it didn't play well beyond that. But Rishi Sunak has tried to reset the Conservative government that he leads in his conference speech. He tried to reset the Conservative government in the King's speech. Now he's gone for a reset, reshuffle, trying to pull the Conservatives, or look like he's pulling the Conservatives back to the centre a little bit. Now, his opponents say that this is desperate, but with about a year to go to a general election, 20 points behind Labour in the polls, of course he's desperate.
And Colin, if the Foreign Secretary is in the Lords, how will he be held to account?
Well, that's a good question, and it's one that the Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, is asking tonight. Now, Lord Cameron, as he will become, can be questioned directly by his peers in the House of Lords. His junior ministers can be questioned in the House of Commons, but he can only be questioned as Foreign Secretary by MPs if he appears at a select committee, and the Foreign Affairs Committee has actually been postponed tomorrow, where the Foreign Secretary was due to appear. But, you know, at a time of foreign affairs being very much to the fore, with wars raging in Ukraine and the Middle East, this looks like an attempt to rebuild the UK's diminished international reputation by bringing in a fairly big political hitter, even if it was the one who lost the Brexit referendum.
All right, Colin, thanks very much for that.
To other stories, and Royal Mail has been fined £5.6 million for a significant failure to meet its postal delivery targets. The regulator Ofcom imposed the penalty after the company missed performance targets for the last financial year for both first and second class mail. 73% of first class mail was delivered within one working day, missing a target of 93%.
And Sir Alex Ferguson has paid tribute to Sir Bobby Charlton after attending a memorial service for the legendary footballer who died last month, aged 86. Ferguson was amongst 1,000 invited guests at the funeral of the England and Manchester United great.
He was a wonderful man, and I'm here at United because of Bobby Charlton, without question. He was a wonderful support for me and everything we did when I first came to the club, and I can't say no more than that. He was just a really, truly wonderful man.
A Scot has been speaking of her fear after being caught up in a series of earthquakes in Iceland. It's believed that an eruption could be imminent and would cause widespread damage to the town of Grindavik, where Caitlin McLean has been visiting her partner.
The couple posted a series of dramatic videos on social media before being evacuated to safety at the nearby capital of Reykjavik. Vanessa Kennedy reports.
This is the moment Caitlin and her boyfriend felt the full force of a terrifying tremor after a series of earthquakes hit the Icelandic town of Grindavik.
On the Friday when they started becoming like really strong, and it was like kind of hard to even stand up when they were hitting and things. So yeah, that was quite scary.
Caitlin is from Glasgow and is visiting Gisley in his hometown. On Friday, they were forced to evacuate after authorities ordered thousands of people to leave as a precaution.
Gisley had no clothes or anything like that because we just wanted out of the town as quick as possible.
They're now staying at Gisley's mother's home in the capital of Reykjavik. It's not the first time Iceland has been affected by volcanic activity. Back in 2010, an eruption caused an ash cloud that caused huge disruption to travel for weeks. The Met Office says any eruption is unlikely to cause that kind of chaos. Gisley is now joining Caitlin on her journey back to Scotland, but with parts of his hometown already damaged, there are worries about what he'll come back to.
When we left, we were in such a hurry, it didn't really cross my mind that might be the last time I would be seeing my hometown at all, my home, my house, there my whole life. So that's tough, you know.
Yeah.
So that was tough. Yeah.
Because of Grindavik's location, the main concern is that the quakes will spark an eruption of the volcano. But until then, it's an anxious wait for residents waiting to see the full extent of any damage. Vanessa Kennedy, STV News.
Other stories in the West, and a two-day walkout by First Bus engineers has been called off after a pay deal was accepted. Unite says 150 workers who maintain the buses across Greater Glasgow will receive a pay rise worth at least £5,000 a year. Meanwhile, drivers for First across Glasgow are set to take strike action on Black Friday weekend in a separate pay dispute. 47 workers have been made redundant after a Glasgow-based manufacturer collapsed. Tot Spots, which was set up in 2001 and made nappies and period products, has appointed liquidators after being hit by the cost of living crisis. A major fire at a chicken farm in Clackmannanshire has been put out. 4 fire engines were sent to Ochilview Farm on Saturday afternoon. No casualties were reported. And Stirling will host the Summer Sessions Festival for the first time next year. Organisers say it will bring the long-running Scottish music series to the foot of Stirling Castle. The festival began in 2013 and has previously hosted bands such as The Killers and Kings of Leon. A new stage play that aims to tackle antisocial behaviour is touring Glasgow's primary schools. Butterflies and Storms was written by Mark McNichol, who says he was inspired by his own experiences growing up in Priest Hill. Students at Drumchapel High School in Glasgow were some of the first to see the production, which aims to spark discussion among teenagers. Caroline Lewis reports.
Why don't you introduce me to some of your pals then?
For these pupils, the school day kicked off with a performance. The purpose is to get youngsters talking about both the cause and the impact of their behaviour.
Taught you like people can be different with their friends and like completely different with their family, and that some people are confident and not.
I thought it was like very real. It's like very true. Like it's like telling a true story, what could happen.
It had a great message through showing who you really are. It means that you can truly be the best potential part of who you can be.
How would you feel if it was you?
We have 2 characters. One, Lex, is exhibiting antisocial behavior in the more traditional way, sort of going out, causing trouble. And Leo has the opposite end of the spectrum. She's too afraid to go out because she can't be safe where she does go.
And after the performance was over, pupils had a chance to sit down with the actors and reflect on what they'd seen.
I hope the takeaway is less shame of if you have participated in something and rather just reflecting on why so that you don't do it in the future, and becoming more comfortable with expressing your feelings and thoughts in healthier ways.
The concept was created by Mark McNichol, who says he hopes the play will stop young people making the same mistakes as he did.
I know it's hard to believe looking at a middle-aged man, but I was a child in that area who was a bit of a terror. High school age is the most problematic age when it comes to antisocial behaviour. So that means that taking something into schools which is designed to be preventative is clearly very important.
The play is now touring more of the city's schools and perhaps give these young people some food for thought. Caroline Lewis, STV News.
Raman's here with the sport and back into another international week.
We sure are, John. Good evening to you all. Scotland coach John Carver has called on his players to finish their Euro qualifying campaign with a bang by securing wins against Georgia and Norway this week. The national team have already qualified for next summer's championship, and with 7 months to go before the tournament in Germany, Carver says Steve Clarke will have some sleepless nights before selecting his final squad for the Euros.
The Scotland squad are training in Turkey ahead of Thursday's penultimate Euro qualifier against Georgia. The national team is in an unprecedented position, having qualified for a major championship with 2 games to spare, and the coaching staff want the players to finish the campaign with a flourish.
We need to finish off what we started. You know, we had a great start to this campaign, winning the first 5 games and then obviously losing in Spain. But we want to finish it off in the same manner, and we want to win both games. Obviously it'll help us going forward in the season for future tournaments. So I think it's important that the guys realise, yeah, we've done a good job so far, but we need to finish it off.
Steve Clarke has until June to name his squad for the Euros. Players will be desperate to be on the flight to Germany. Tough decisions lie ahead.
I'm sure Steve will have some sleepless nights from now till having to pick the squad. But that's what he wants. That's why he's in the game. That's why we do what we do, because, you know, we want to have to make difficult decisions. But we want players to force the issue and make it even harder for us. So, you know, there's going to be disappointment at the end of it, but there is a long way to go from now until the championships.
Che Adams has withdrawn from the squad for the qualifiers against Georgia and Norway through injury, with Lawrence Shankland called up. Rangers chairman John Bennett says the club's player trading model requires attention. That after they posted an operating profit of £252,000 in their annual accounts. This is down over £5 million from last year. Turnover was also down from almost £86.8 million to £83.8 million. Bennett says while successive years of operating profit is encouraging, he accepts there's still much to be done. Now, after the 6-0 demolition of Aberdeen, Matt O'Reilly says Celtic were due to give a team a hammering after a number of impressive performances. The midfielder admits it was the perfect response to their midweek drubbing in the Champions League. Meanwhile, as Rangers kept up the pace with their rivals with a 2-0 win over Livingston, Cyril Dessers says the squad has a newfound level of confidence under manager Philippe Clement. Here's Ronnie Shatters.
A relentless display restoring pride after Celtic's Champions League horror show. It was goals galore at Parkhead as Brendan Rodgers' side hit Aberdeen for 6. Yang, Kyogo, Lewis Palma, David Turnbull and a double from O, with the Parkhead boss praising the ruthlessness of his squad. And from the dressing room, that heavy scoreline was coming.
Perfect response, I think, to midweek. I think a result like that was pending, to be honest, in the league. We've put enough good performances in. I think it was time we, you know, with the utmost respect, like just gave someone a real doing today with, you know, a lot of chances created, and I think it could have been more. So needed.
Across the central belt at Livingston, Philippe Clement continues his impressive start to life at Rangers as VAR was once again a hot topic. Connor Goldson had a goal ruled out after a VAR check for offside, before Stephen McLean awarded a penalty for this, that James Tavernier missed. But after Cyril Dessers did put Rangers ahead, Ross McCausland's goal was chalked off for a foul in the build-up. Before a second penalty after this handball, and Tavernier made no mistake.
You feel the team is more confident now, and if something happens, something goes wrong or against us, yeah, it's no problem. We just keep going, we keep the pace high. It's all about keeping this momentum, and you know, it's never easy after a European success, a big win on Thursday. You have to go again on Sunday, you know, and like I said, this is a tricky game, but I think we handled it pretty well.
8 points remains the gap as we head into the international break. Celtic sitting top, having played a game more than Rangers. Ronnie Charters, STV News.
That, folks, is all your sport from me tonight. Tomorrow, more from the Scotland camp. And as always, you can get plenty of sports stories on our website, stv.tv/sports. See you again tomorrow.
All right, thanks very much, Rahman. Right, time to find out how the weather's looking. Here's Sean.
A spell of sea air will be followed by a strong chance of you have to try these. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
A very good evening to you. Well, that was a lovely weekend, wasn't it? Plenty of lovely, crisp autumn sunshine. I don't think we're going to be seeing that anytime soon again, because we've got low pressure systems coming back in from the Atlantic through this week. We're going to see lots of rain coming in from the west. It's going to be quite a chilly week, and it could turn quite windy once again as we head into the weekend. After that lovely weather at the weekend, this morning we were greeted by the wind and the rain. Of course, from Storm Debbie, with the worst of Debbie though further south across lights of Lancashire, Cumbria, and also across the Isle of Man, and also the northeast of the country, seeing lots of rain. Here we're going to hang on to a lot of cloud and showers through much of this evening and tonight. Quite breezy as Debbie heads away back out into the North Sea. So a breezy night, and with the cloud and the rain, those temperatures should stay about 7 or 8 degrees. Now, a showery start to tomorrow, a lot of cloud, and then we'll see more persistent and at times heavy rain coming in across Ayrshire, Inverclyde, Renfrewshire, Glasgow, Dunbartonshire and also across Argyll and Butte. And then later on tomorrow, that moves its way eastwards. So predominantly tomorrow is just a cloudy day. It's going to feel quite chilly and it will be quite damp. And the same for Wednesday and also Thursday. Further spells of rain coming in from the west. Wednesday we could get a windy spell of weather across the Inner Hebrides for a time. But here's the outlook for the week. Not painting a great picture for you. We've got plenty of rain or showers, but the temperature's taking a significant rise as we head into the weekend. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, the bagpipes of the former Commons Speaker Lord Martin of Springburn are switching Westminster for Whitehill Secondary School in Glasgow, where pupils are eager to learn more about his favourite instrument.
While MPs chantered on, his chanter was never far from his fingers, as Caitlin Hutchison reports.
It takes a lot of puff, but Nina's been perfecting her playing since primary school. She's the lone piper among her peers, but she's hoping that could soon change.
What is it that you like the most about the bagpipes?
Well, I mean, that's a difficult question. There's so much to love about the bagpipes. I think it's really, the sound is so unique. You don't really get it on any other instrument. You know, you have the drones going and also the complexity of it.
These once belonged to Lord Martin of Springburn, the late Commons Speaker and renowned bagpipe enthusiast. And now, thanks to his family, his beloved instruments have a new home at a school in his old constituency.
I understand it may have been in buildings similar to this, where he was held these surgeries, and at the same time he would take that opportunity to practice his pipes as well. So I think he'd be delighted to see these pipes here today.
They were a constant in the former Labour MP's life, with him when he represented Springburn and the northeast of Glasgow at Westminster, and his tumultuous time as Speaker of the House of Commons.
Order, order.
In 2009, he became the first person to resign the post in more than 300 years amid an expenses scandal. Now it's hoped the bagpipes that were there for that moment in history can help encourage burgeoning young talent.
I don't think we'll get anything else out of it. That's not bad, it's really not bad.
There is going to be a new piping instructor in the school, so we would hope that that would generate a bit more interest and enthusiasm and skill.
The new first years are absolutely so enthusiastic, so hopefully we can get lots of them started on the chanter and hopefully onto bagpipes.
I would love to have more people that I could play with. I mean, that's the dream, isn't it?
And even I had a wee go.
From Westminster to Whitehill, the old pipes will be given a new lease of life thanks to the young players. Caitlin Hutchison, STV News.
Do you know what? You'd be great at that, John. You know, you need a lot of puff and hot air.
If hot air was all it was, maybe that'd be true. It's a lot more than that, unfortunately. From all of us here, thank you for watching. Have a good night.
Good night.